osobowe.
D'arriver en wagon de passagers,
Nawet niekiedy pullmany.
souvent même en
I
pullman.
oni z reguły byli jakoś lepiej traktowani przez
Et en règle générale, ils étaient mieux traités par les gardes.
Gdzie Żydzi przywiezieni z Europy Zachodniej, nieświadomi tego, co im Niemcy tu gotują, byli, po prostu przygotowywali się do wysiadania. Kobiety poprawiały makijaż, czesały się, nie wiedząc, że za kilkanaście minut zostaną tu skierowane do komory gazowej.
Oui, surtout les convois des Juifs de l'Europe occidentale, en attendant ici à leur tour. Et les cheminots polonais ont vu que les femmes se maquillaient, se coiffaient bien. Elles étaient tout à fait inconscientes du sort qui les attendait dans quelques minutes.
A nam
Elles s'embellissaient.
nie można było nic im powiedzieć z uwagi na konwojentów, którzy zabraniali nam kontaktowania się z przyszłymi ofiarami.
Et les cheminots polonais ne pouvaient rien leur dire parce que les gardes qui surveillaient le train interdisaient d'entrer en contact avec les futures victimes.
Il y avait des beaux jours comme aujourd'hui.
Działo się to też w takie piękne dni jak dzień dzisiejszy, prawda?
Niestety tak,
I
i
lat
jeszcze
były.
piękniejsze.
Il y avait encore des journées plus belles que celle-ci.
There was a place called the Ramp where the trains with the Jews were coming in Auschwitz. And they were coming in day or night, and sometimes one per day and sometimes 5 per day, from all sorts of places in the world. Well, I worked there from August 18th, 1942, until June 7th, 1943. I saw those transport rolling one after the other, and I'm sure that I have seen at least 200 of them in this position. I have seen it so many times that it became a routine. Constantly people from the heart of Europe were disappearing, and they were arriving to the same place, with the same ignorance of the fate of the previous transport. And that people in this mass, and I knew of course that within a couple of hours after they arrived there, 90% of them will be gassed or something like that. I knew that. And somehow in my thinking, it was difficult for me to comprehend that people can disappear in this way and nothing is going to happen. And then there comes the next transport, and they don't know anything about what happened to the previous transport, and that this is going on for months and months on and on. So what happened was the following. Say a transport of Jews was announced to come at 2 o'clock. So when the transport arrived to close stations from Auschwitz, the announcement came to the SS. Now one SS man came and woke us up. We had to get up and move to the ramp. We immediately got an escort in the night, and we were escorted to the ramp. Say we were about 200 men. And lights went on. There was a ramp. Around the ramp were lights, and under those lights were the cordon of the SS. There was one every 10 yards with a gun in the hand. So we were in the middle, the prisoners, and we were waiting for the train, waiting for the next order. Now when all this was done, everybody was there, the transport was rolled in. This means in a very slow fashion, the locomotive, which was always at the front, was coming to this ramp, and that was the end of the railway line. That was the end of the line for everybody who was on the train. And now the train stopped, and the gangster elite marched on the ramp, and in front of every second or every third wagon, and sometimes in front of every wagon, one of those Unterscharführers was standing with a key and opened the locks, because the wagons were locked. Now, Inside, there were people, of course, and you could see the people looking through the windows because they didn't know what's happening. They had many stops on their journey. Some of them were 10 days on the journey, some were 2 days on the journey. And they didn't know what this particular stop means. Now the door was opened, and the first order they were given was alle heraus, everybody out. And in order to make it quite clear, they usually started with those walking sticks to hit the first, the second, the third, they were like sardines in those cars. If they expected on that day 4, 5, 6 transports, the pressure on getting out from the wagons was high. Then they used sticks, clubs, cursing, etc., etc. However, sometimes the SS, if it was a good weather, they used to deal with it differently. I mean, I was not surprised if they were in a different mood and exhibited a lot of humor, like saying, "Good morning, madam, and will you please walk out?"
It happened.
Oh yes, oh yes. And how nice that you arrived. We are so sorry that it wasn't too convenient, but now things will become different.
When we came in to Treblinka, we didn't know who the people were. Some of them, they had armbands, some of them red, some of them they had blue, Jewish commander. Falling out from the train and pushing out each other, and over there losing each other, and the crying and the hollering, and coming out. We started on one way to the right, one to the left, the woman to the left, and the men on the right. And we had no time to even to look each other, because they start hitting over the head with all kind of things. And it is very, very painful it was. You didn't know what had happened. You had no time to think. All you heard is you crying, and all you heard all the time was the hollering of the people.
Und in dem Moment hat es angefangen. Gebrüll, Geschrei, aussteigen, alles aussteigen, schreien. Also schreien, Gebrüll, ein Getöse. Aussteigen, alles aussteigen. Gepäck zurücklassen, und dann sind wir also einer über den anderen hinaus, haben Leute gesehen, die haben blaue Armbinden gehabt und manche haben Peitschen in der Hand gehabt. Und dann haben wir einige SS-Männer gesehen, dann haben wir in grünen Uniformen, dann haben wir wieder Leute in schwarzen Uniformen gesehen. Das war eine Masse. Mit dieser Masse einfach bewegten wir uns alles, es war nicht anders möglich. Die Masse musste sich bewegen zu einem anderen Platz. Ich habe gesehen, die anderen ziehen sich aus. Und habe gehört, ausziehen, wir gehen in ein Desinfektionsbad. Und als ich da so nackt stand, habe ich gesehen auf einmal, dass die SS-Männer einige zur Seite gestellt haben und die mussten sich wieder anziehen. Und da kam ein SS-Mann an mir vorbei, hat mich so gemustert und hat gesagt, ja, du auch, komm schnell zu den anderen und zieh dich auch an und du wirst auch da arbeiten und wenn du dich bewährst, kannst du Vorarbeiter oder Capo werden.
at my transport, I was waiting already naked. And men came over and asked, you step out. We stepped it out. And they took us a little bit on the side. Some of the people from the transport, they had an idea what is going on, and they know already that they will not stay alive. Pushing the people they didn't want to go, or they knew already where they go, to that big door. The hollering and the crying and the shouting what was going over there on. It was impossible. The cry and the holler was in your ears, in your minds, for days and days, and at night the same thing. From that howling you could not even sleep a couple nights of that. All of a sudden, at one time, everything stopped, like by a command. It was all quiet. The place where the people went in, just like on a command, like everything was dead. Then they told us to make clean the whole place. It was about 2,000 people which they undressed on the outside, to take the whole thing away and to clear up the place. And that has to be done in minutes. Some of the Germans, some of the other people, they were there, the Ukrainians, the other one, they start shouting and hitting us that we should do it faster to carry the bundles on our back faster to the main place where it was big places of clothes, of shoes, of other things. And in no time this was clean, just like never happened, never was people on that place again. And that was not at all. Like a magic thing, everything disappeared.
Whenever a new transport came, the ramp was cleaned absolutely to 0 point. No trace from the previous transport was allowed to remain. Not one trace.
Man hat uns in eine Baracke geführt. Die ganze Baracke war voll vom Gestank, vielleicht bis 1,5 Meter hoch, war das eine einzige Masse in der Baracke von allem Möglichen, was Leute bringen können. Leintücher und Koffer und alles mögliche Zeug, alles durcheinander in einer einzigen Masse. Über der Masse sprangen da herum wie kleine Teufel irgendwelche Leute, und dann habe ich gesehen, sie machten Pakete daraus und das trugen sie hinaus aus der Baracke. Und man hat mich zugeteilt zu einem, der hat eine Binde gehabt mit Anschrift Vorarbeiter. Er hat mich angeschrien und ich habe verstanden, ich soll mir auch so einen Bettlaken nehmen und soll in den Bettlaken Sachen packen und soll mit dem hinaus aus der Baracke auf einen anderen Platz. Als ich das gemacht habe, habe ich ihn gefragt, was ist da los, was geschieht da?